Hi everyone, Ray from Pro String again with another racket restringing tutorial. Today's racket is actually a bit of a classic now, I guess you could call it, pretty much. You don't see them all that often anymore, and even back in the day, I guess you did see them, but maybe the 95. This is a 90 square inch racket, guys, 319 grams. This is not an easy racket to use. So it's a Wilson Pro Staff 90, yeah? It's Roger Federer edition. It's got his little signature here, 16 by 19. Yeah, 90 square inch. Very small sweet spot, not very forgiving at all, especially in a 319 grams. But yeah, I guess this is a classic Pro Staff. Now, one day we'll look back and whoever's got one of these might be worth something. Nothing to retire on, of course, but but yeah, it's going to be a pleasure stringing this racket. I haven't seen one of these in a very long time. It's got the old PWS. I don't think they. Oh yeah, the new ones do have. So the PWS system has continued for yonks. It's still the newest racket. So the newest Pro Staff is this one, 315 grams and 97 square inch. V14 version 14. It does come in a lighter version. I don't think it comes in. No, it doesn't come in a heavy version anymore. I think the 340. Really, I think a lot of people bought it because of Roger Federer, and then a lot of people were very unhappy with it because it's impossible to use for many club players, let's say, especially beginners, etc. Especially the autograph version, which is 340 grams, heavier, even heavier than this, but it did have a bigger racket head size, or has a bigger racket head size, the 97 Pro Staff, which is this one, but this is the Black Knight version, or whatever it's called, Noir something, 97 as well. I feel like the 315 hasn't been, at least not on that, it's special edition paint job. The V is the V13. I feel like it didn't get all that much attention. Not that exact edition, but the black matte one. I think that would have been like the V13. I think it was as well, just in a different paint job. I see them all the time, even at the moment. So 8 to each side, guys. But we've already got 2 mains in, so that's 7. 8 minus 1 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Client wants 55 pounds attention, but I think, oof, you know what? We'll do what the client wants. We'll leave it at that. But I do think he doesn't play all that much tennis, more of a squash player. Initially was only going to drop off squash rackets and turns up with 3 squash and 2 tennis. Which is great, not a problem for me or us. As always, guys, stringing symmetrically. 3 strings to each side. This is now my 3rd. It doesn't matter which side I choose to continue on. Just FYI. This racket's gonna come out super tight at 55. Super tight. But I have a feeling that from what I saw on the other rackets, the old strings on this racket and the Yonex he brought, also old school Yonex, probably won't be using it much. That's my feeling anyway, but it'll drop with time. But if he uses it anytime soon, his arm might fall off. I don't know. But let's see how that goes for him. He did have polyester in there. It was completely loose. It was probably years worth of just sat there, maybe. String had no damage breakage wise, so Strings looked almost new actually, but yeah. I did ask him about his game, blah blah. He says, no, I play, sometimes I play weekly, sometimes I don't, but I'm not someone who typically breaks strings. I think very intermediate recreational players, like, you need to get, I advise that you need to get away from the polyester strings, which he agreed with. I'm not sure how much he understood, but he took my recommendation. Anyway, guys, our last main string to our first side before we tie off our finishing knot. 15 to 20%, not pounds or kilos, 15-20% extra of tension on your last mains or any time before tying, the last string before tying a finishing knot. Pretty straightforward racket to do as well, guys. No real complications, I would say. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, skip 1, 7, skip another 8. So 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, skip 1, 7, skip another 8. And the bottom is very much the same. It is exactly the same. 6, skip 1 hole, 7, skip another hole, 8. I'm actually quite happy to see this racket. Gives me a chance to put that content out there as well, just like the other racket this client brought, which is one of the Yarnex RDSs, if I'm not mistaken, RDS 100. The other one, I should really not be questioning myself, I just strung it. And it's down here. Yeah, the RDS 100. So guys, today's, well, I mentioned at the beginning, but we are using our own brand of pure multi-filament strings, which we produce in Austria. It's called Pro String Pure Multi-Filament. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not even going to go in half. 7 1/4. Such a small head size. I know that I'm not going to need. Just trying to save a little piece of string. No need to waste such a small head size. It's unlikely I'm going to need it all, but at the same time, you don't want to cut yourself short. Parnell knot, guys, as always. I'm using my awl here. I find it a little bit easier with my first 1 or 2 crosses. Always a bit more friction here, which therefore my finger takes it. And slowly but surely I'm just removing skin from the end of my finger. Apologies for the dirty nail. This was due to gardening, a little bit of gardening yesterday, and some of it's not coming out. We have a small garden downstairs in our house. See, the string, our main string is covering the hole. Yeah, we just destroyed our sharp end, no problem. Guys, stringing one ahead is always, I always string one ahead. I don't just weave one string and then just pull the string. Always weaving the second one in front, which makes it one in front. Stringing one ahead, one in front. Finish up this racket, go get my son, and probably carry on before I need to go pick up my daughter. And my other daughter gets dropped off with school transport. I've actually got the well, the Racket well before this one, the Pro Staff 85s. I think I've got one or two of the 85s and one. I've got 3. I don't know if I've got. I definitely have 185. I don't know if I have 2 90s or is it 2 85s and 190 square inch. Walking around all morning in the city. How many steps? 14,000 already today. 14,000. I haven't played tennis, and I won't be probably until I get to Spain on the nice clay courts. As you guys can see now, always pulling that string downwards, avoiding as much friction as possible so you don't damage your string. And then when you're pulling it, you want to support it, pull it upwards ever so slightly. I feel like my clamp has loosened a little bit. Okay. Reason we want to keep our cross string straight is to not have to straighten everything up afterwards when we finish or completed our job. That will only lead to losing tension. Therefore, try to be a little bit more aware of every single cross that we pull. Yeah, that should solve the tension loss at the end if you're not having to move your strings around too much. Is that my phone again? It is. All right, let me double check that this has continued. Has indeed. I'll call the client back in a moment. Very slow today in regards to phone calls. Everybody seems to disappear from London as soon as we come to the end of school term time. Lots more holidays in the UK than one would think. Their school terms are divided into 6-7 week terms normally, so you get a week off or 2 depending what kind of school. School holidays tend to be different from public and private schools. My kids have always been in private, however my daughter's now in, my kids have always been public. My daughter's now into public, all funded by the state because she has some learning difficulties. So she's being well looked after in a private school now, which funny enough now gives us more holidays. My son will also be attending a private school, but at our own cost. But we figured out that we would be paying as much as we're paying now for a nursery or kindergarten. Sorry to ramble on about my private life, guys, but there you have it. Maybe you guys get to know me a little bit as well while you watch me string. Yeah, I work around my work. So yeah, rackets get restrung when the kids are out, and if they're home and my wife's not working, well, I'll try to get as much done as well. But then at the same time, of course, finding that right work-life balance is not easy, especially if you have a lot of work. You know, it's less worth it if I'm having to outsource a lot of the rackets, which does happen regardless, which is good, of course. I can't keep up with demand, so that's a great thing. I do pay my stringers anywhere between £8 and £10, depending if they're using my machine, their machine, or what the deal is and who's picking up, dropping off rackets. But I do try to reward my stringers well for their time and effort and stringing skills. Most of the guys that work with me have been taught by myself, so we all kind of are on the same wavelength, try to string the same ways, kind of. Obviously, some have more experience, some have less. But generally speaking, we all do the same knots, which is good as well. At the moment, it's me and one other guy, another stringer. But only has the time to string 2 or 3 a day at best, because he's got a full-time job in the city of London. And most of the time when you hear people say such and such person has a job in the city, it's normally, at least in the city, is normally finance, but not necessarily everyone, of course. Not everyone's in finance, but that's where you'll find most of the finance people is in the city. Anyway, right guys, 2 more strings to weave, and then we finished our Wilson Pro Staff 90. In case some of you struggle to understand my accent, 90, 90. 90, 90, 90. Right, I'm not doing you're asking why I'm not stringing the second one in front, because I always leave myself just enough string to not have to worry about stringing or wasting string more than anything. Try to keep our wastage down, which is a lot of the times, which will mean not stringing one in front on my last string. Just doing a 1 weave and pull, and that's that. Right, I have 2 strings overlapping here. This is going to be a nightmare. I think it's done something. I wasn't expecting it to go through on the first go, considering I didn't cut myself a nice sharp end. But anyway, tension up guys, as always, on your last string before tying off, doing a finishing knot. Okay, we're gonna go around here. That looks good to me. Right, Parnell knot to finish with, down around on our third last cross string is what we're using as our anchor string. I always say anchor string, which is the string we use to tie our knots on. Okay guys, that's all nice and flush, no crossovers here. It's good always as well. Very important thing to keep an eye on, guys. No crossovers. I don't know how well you guys can tell here, but as you can see, lots of strings are kind of overlapping on this type of racket because it is smaller, everything's more compact. But that's the only way to do it. But no crossovers. Very little important piece of my stringing, at least. Aesthetic won't affect playability probably. Wow, that's a bloody board. Listen to that. Just to put things, these are both strung at 55/90 square inch. The Onyx that we just did a little while ago. Whew. That is a rock. Excuse me. Right guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. I don't know where this channel is going. I just started to give you guys content as much as possible. As you can see, every time I do have a new racket that I haven't strung, which seems to be lots of them, regardless how good or bad they are, how new or old they are. Please let us know if you get to the end of this where you watched from, Any comments, positive, negative, just be nice about it. Anything you want to see, any feedback to make me a better stringer. But please, yeah, if you're not someone who's not really a stringer or just strings for yourself or doesn't have too much idea, tone it down and don't start giving advice out there or telling me X, Y, and Z. Unless you're fully confident that you do have something valid to say, then please, by all means, go for it. But I've had a few silly comments on some videos now, which just, doesn't make any sense. But anyway, fine. I get it that a lot of you are self-taught and stuff like that, and you get into your own habits and things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. So yeah, anyway, have a good one, guys. Have a great one. In fact, happy stringing. Much love. Bye-bye.